Hey guys, I'm Brad, AE4VJ, the technical coordinator for the South Carolina section of the ARRL. Today we're going to talk about digital mode. It's been around a little bit. I'm sure you've probably heard of it. You may have not been on it, but it's a lot of fun. It's really not hard to use, and you can work a lot of good DX. And even better off, even when the bands seem dead, you can usually always find somebody on FT8. Now, some people have said, and I've actually got to a conversation on the air about it, was if it's really ham radio or not, just because of the way it works, and we're going to get into that. Because they say it's kind of impersonal. It's pretty much it's a call, signal report 73, and move on. So my outlook on it is it's really not any different than working DX on an expedition or even just DX in general. Is you're sitting there, it's a signal report, especially on CW, and you move on. Now, see, you had to do something, even on voice, it's the same thing. Signal report, move on. There's no name. You're not talking about the weather, what you guys do, anything like that. So, in that aspect, I don't really see there's a difference. When Rudy came along, I'm sure this was the same conversation. PSK, the same thing. Now, interesting thing about PSK, I've noticed since FT8's kind of taken off, PSK seems to be pretty quiet. And that's okay. The mode's still there. You can still use it. And it's a great rag shoe mode. And I've worked a lot of stuff on it. FT8 uses a newer program. If you've used JT65 or even WSPR, you probably already have one version of WSJT. The new version, WSJT-X, and they just released a new update to it not too long ago, is still does all of that, and it does FT8, and it really does it very well. So when they wrote it and designed, it's pretty easy to use. The little pop-up menus, all the pop-up dialog boxes on all the fields are very helpful, and I haven't even really had to crack a help file. If you run into a little bit of trouble with a quick Google search and somebody's already figured it out. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to go through it, share some screenshots, and just kind of walk you through the program, getting it set up, talking to your radio, and all of that. So let's get started. So let's move this over and get playing on the radio.
All right, so here we are. We have WSJT-X open. At the top here you have a graph. You can see these are all signals. And it's just like a typical waterfall display, except it's slowed down to handle the 15-second duration for the transmit. And that's what these lines are, is every 15 seconds. You have a spectrograph down here, and then the waterfall. Waterfall is really helpful. You see the darker, the red here, that's a real strong signal. And we can click on that on the receive. That changes the receive. And you can move the transmit to with this little button here. Boom. Oh, I always get those two mixed up. So you can move, here's the receive on the green, the red's the transmit, and you can move that. You go, boom, and that will jump it over there. I haven't found a way to actually just move the transmit. I guess you might be able to lock them together, but generally I haven't used it, and I don't think we're gonna need it. Right now we're on 30 meters. And you can see right there. So this is the band activity, and this, whatever frequency you're on, it will show up here. And that's the time. There's the signal that we're getting with plus 13. That's a strong signal, especially when we're pointed east. Well, we're on a vertical. So, and there's the grid square he's in. And now I've started a QSO. This guy, KC8YDS, is calling K5ZD, and he's in EN91. So you can watch the whole transmission from that window. Like I said, this is the frequency display. You can change bands. If you want to change bands and go to 40, it will do that. And once you got everything set up with your radio, boom, it changes the frequency for you. And all that stuff's in there, and it's very, very handy and very useful. So over here would be the standard generated messages once you start a QSO. And the auto sequence, it will sequence these through for you, so you don't have to, you only have 2 seconds between the end of a transmission and the start of the next. So that gets a little crazy. But just leave that checked and it will work it all through you. Wait for the other guy's reply and it'll move to the next message. So it's really good. It makes it really easy to use, even if you're not real good on it. If you start it up and you see this monitor button, if it's not green, you're not going to see anything here, and you'll scratch your head and like, what in the world's going on? Why don't I see it? Boom. It's because it's not monitoring. It's just sitting there running. So let's get into setting it up. So when you first open it up, you're going to have to go to settings, enter your information, your call sign, the grid square you're in. You really need to do that, and pretty much leave this stuff alone. This is helpful. And if you're in the US, you're probably going to want it in miles rather than kilometers. TX messages to RX frequency window. That's correct. You want that checked. And it will show you if it's the DXCC entity and if you worked it before. So, and you can do this if you want the prefix to the country name. Behavior, monitor off at startup. I probably wouldn't check that because you'll be scratching your head. I've never had to use that. Mostly because I jump around a lot. Double click. That's way if you see somebody pop up, remember you only got a couple seconds before the next guy gets in there. So if you get it where you can double click the guy you want, that will make it a lot quicker for you. And these are the other stuff that I haven't really needed to use or come across needing to use. So watchdog time 6 minutes. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. You don't have to CWID. You can. This can get a little annoying. So that's the general stuff. You want to set that up. You can change the fonts however you want. And you may want to do that. But in the meantime, let's just go through getting it set up. Your radio, because it's going to need to transmit and get the mode, the frequency, and all that. You have to set that up. Now, I use Ham Radio Deluxe. So this will actually poll HRD and use its server to control everything. So if you already got HRD set up, it makes it a lot easier. And I know a lot of people are using it. I like it. And it does everything I need it to do. But you can see in here, it's got everything, all types of radios. You know, you can even do none. All your ICOMs, Kenwood, Yaesu. So all those are in there. You just need to know. You can even do, if you got Cat Control the network server, you can use that. So there's a lot of ways to get this and your radio talking. For the PTT method, you know, if you don't have a newer radio with that, you can use Vox. So if you're going into the front, you just set your Vox up and use that. And that works very well. I know some people that do use that and they like it. Me, this radio has the USB on it. So it's got the built-in sound card and control. I just use it for that. Transmit, I have that coming from the rear /data, just because that way I can leave everything hooked up on the front, normal microphone I use and everything like that. Mode, I like leaving that to none because I had it set over here before. And since I use my radio will set up a digital mode on either upper or lower sideband, I use that. And then that also sets all the other parameters that I like using for the digital. As you can see here, it says D1. We can get out of that. Split operation. I haven't used that, and you can test it. You can click that, and it should go into transmit. And mine just crapped out. All right. It's testing the cat. If that turns green, that's good. And you can test the PTT. There you go. You see it. Boom. Audio, you need to know what channel you're using. This is the internal codec in the radio. So that's the sound card in the radio. That's how it shows up, and the speaker in that. And I generally set that to mono. That is a mono sound card. Now, if you have a separate interface, this will look different. If you just use your speaker out and the mic in of your computer, you can set those up correctly. And you may need to go into the Windows mixer and set up the proper audio levels there. and we can go over that. And that's going to be right down here. Transmit macros, I haven't used that. That's, you know, if you want to put some different messages in there, you can. Reporting, yeah, it's going to pop up and ask you to log the QSO. You're going to want to log it because you want to get it into HRD or whatever logging program you use. And later on the next video, we'll show you another program that will automate that for you. I don't like this converting it to RTTY. I know some things, there was some little weird stuff with LOTW and using FT8 as a mode, and some stuff would come up a little weird. I think they got that fixed. Yeah, this is a good idea. Go ahead and clear that. What way if you click something down here by accident, you just start trying to call the other guy again. This is always handy, the enable PSK reporter spotting. That will report back the PSK info, that website, and we'll put a link down there in the bottom. And then you can go up there, you can see everybody that's hearing you, and it will, if that's reporting, and then, you know, everybody you're hearing, they can see that too. So that's very helpful to know how propagation's doing, see how you're getting out. This you're probably not going to need for a while. And like I said, it will talk back to some other logbook software, electronic logging. This is actually has a special settings for N1MM, which I use for contests, but not so much as my general log. Frequencies, this has all this stuff's already set up. I haven't had to touch that. You're probably not going to have to touch the slope too much if you got a radio made in the last 20 years, or the intercept, because they're pretty steady. And it's enough for what we're doing. And you can see all the modes in there, and they're all in there. And WSJT-X does a lot of the other digital modes, but right now it's the only program that does the FT8. Colors, you can change these colors. You know, if you're CQing, it's going to come up green. Whoever's CQing is coming up green. Your call will show up this red, so that's a good way for it to stand out if somebody's calling you. Here's what you're going to transmit, and if it shows up this color, you know, that's a new DXCC entity that's within the log for WSJT-X, and this is just a new call sign. You can change these colors to whatever you like. I just left mine standard. The advanced tab I have not used. I don't really do any VHF, UHF, or microwave contesting or anything like that. I do remember something in the Carolina DX Association reflector that came up, how to set this up. DXpedition was using this, and they went through how to set that up, which was good. I haven't used it yet, but it's, you know, if you need that, I could probably find that on the reflector or get somebody to send it to me again. We can post that up. Haven't needed to touch any of that. So you just hit OK there. And here we are. We're back at the window. So here is the receive signal level. You want to make sure this is green. If it's not green, it's going to be red or yellow. You want to keep this in the green. Now, another thing you want to do on your radio, since the digital modes, and we are going to get this back up. Since you got all these other signals, you're going to want to set your AGC to fast on receive, because we don't need to slow it down. We actually need, if there's a static crash, we need to get back into the data as fast as we can. So a static crash when you're running a real slow AGC, although it sounds a lot smoother, and when you're rag chewing, yeah, that's how you want to operate. In the digital modes, the volume's turned down, and you're not going to need it. So you want to set that to fast. Mostly static crashes, or if somebody's tuning up, you know, you want to get back into getting the right data as fast as you can. So that's the thing there. Like I said, here's the band activity. We're on 30 meters. This guy's calling CQ on the frequency we're actually listening to. I'm going to go over here and go right there. And then in a second, once we see this guy transmit, we're going to go through, we're going to call him. So we're transmitting. You see here on the radio, the ALC is right at 0, but we still have control. I'll show it to you on the next transmit. Right here, this slider will adjust the volume output going to the radio. So you can adjust that to still get, if you want to run 100 watts, you can. You don't need it for this. This works very well on low power. And yep, that guy already is calling CQ. Well, let's call this guy. He's minus 24. We're receiving him, which is pretty light, but we'll see what we can get. But see, we can crank it up We're still not really getting any ALC deflection, which is great. And that will keep your signal to noise number up. And that's what you want. So now we're receiving, we're waiting him to answer. Let's see if he answers us. And here, every second it's counting down. Oh, there it is. And he's receiving us at a -8. Now you can see there's the DX call. There's his grid. There's where he is in reference to us and how many miles away. So it's really cool. And there's the report we're sending him, -23. So you see, that's just what we sent. That's what we transmitted. Here's what he sent. He called us. So, you know, just like you would on the radio, you send their call, yours, and then there's our RST, the equivalent of RST. And there it is. He's a quick guy. And right here, we popped up. Here's a little log. You can add some stuff in there if you want. I generally don't, since I'm the only operator. Boom. So you saw all these messages populate and how it just sequenced through them. And we didn't have to do anything. Now, some people, like I said, may think that's not ham radio, but the way this works, you really need that because you don't have time to sit there and in 2 seconds, oh, I need to hit this button. You know, especially if you're a newbie at it like I was, you're kind of nervous anyway. I don't know why. It's not like anybody's going to yell at you or anything like that. There's not a lot of room to send some nasty messages. This is about all you get. So now let's call CQ. Let's find us a clear frequency. We can send here. Boom. Boom. All right. And we're just going to call CQ. So we're on this message here. Do that. And then we just enable TX. And there it goes. Now we were about halfway through this transmission, so we're not 100% sure if anybody's going to answer us. But we'll see. If not, we'll have to transmit a couple times. Now, if you get caught up, you know, in the middle of a transmission, oh, that's not what I meant to do, you can hit Halt TX, and that will stop it immediately. If you just uncheck this, it will finish sending the current message. But it will finish sending the current message and then stop. And sometimes that's okay too. Now, we got auto sequence checked here in first call. See, it turned red. Now, what this is going to enable us to do while we're calling CQ is the first person we hear answer us, it's going to automatically sequence through all of these messages and complete the QSO for us. So, if you come into the shack, get everything started up and you want to go make some coffee, but you don't want to miss, you know, if the band's really open and going good, you see a lot of stuff, go ahead and hit the CQ button. You can go make some coffee and come back and you'll probably see that little log dialog box pop up like we saw earlier. So we'll just wait. There he is. We got an answer. See, boom. There we are. Now we're replying at this message here. And it's just going to sequence through those. All we had to do is find a clear frequency. We click this message here, which was actually already selected. It defaults to that at the end of a QSO. And we hit enable TX. Other than that, we haven't touched anything. So that is a real cool feature. You know, if something's happening or if you got to run to the restroom or something, you can do that and you're not missing any time. Look at that. That's a good signal. He received us at +3. We had him at -19. We might be running a little more power than he is. I'm running about 80 watts right now just because I'm on an 80 meter vertical, and on 30 meters, I need a little extra oomph. But you can turn that down here, adjust all that. You just want to watch the ALC meter. Now, and as you move across frequencies up here, the lowers and the highers, you know, down, these are the hertz markers. This is 500 hertz. Yep, there we go. We haven't clicked anything other than pretty much that enable TX button to call CQ. And now he's in the log. He's in the log in WSJT. Now, it does save this as an ADI. And we can open the log directory and you can see it. It's right there. So there you go. You can take that and import that into your favorite logbook program. But like I said, on the next video, we're going to go through an application that will automate that for you. So the log is there. You're just got to do a few more steps to get it into your actual logbook. But these are the frequency markers. You know, there's 500 hertz, 1000, 1500, and so on. Now, as these change, you might have to increase your power, depending on, you know, the lower frequencies is going to take less drive because there's more energy on the lower frequencies than there are on the uppers. And that's okay. You'll just need to watch. It's like I have my radio set up now. Just watch the meters. Pretty much you can watch the power meter and the ALC. If you'll see your power meter jump up if you go down to the lower frequencies. So just keep an eye on that. But other than that, that's pretty much all you got to do. And it's really, really cool. All the modes, you know, these are all the modes that this software does. JT65, since FT8 came back out, I haven't even looked at JT65. I actually finished up my Worked All States digital with FT8. Needed a few more. PSK there's not a lot of people left on it since this mode came out. It seems to be really hot right now, and it's interesting, and it's really cool, and it's, you know, it's amazing. You can do this, and like I said before, one of the great things, the band can be completely dead. You not hear anything. You will 98% of the time, you call CQ on FT8, there will be somebody to answer you. It might only be one or two, but somebody's there. So it works really well with low signal. So if you do QRP stuff, or, you know, if you don't have real great antennas and you're working for DXCC and you just have a few weird countries that you need, this is a great way to do it. Another thing on the lower bands, like 80 and 160, getting DXCC on that. Getting it on 80 was, oh man, what a pain for me. And a lot of countries came from FT8. On 160, you know, the noise and all that. I know a lot of people, it's on the digital modes, how they're getting some of the stuff they need to finish up DXCC. And that's okay. You know, you'll get digital credit and you'll get credit for the band. But it's a good way to do it, especially if, you know, if you don't have real great antennas or don't have a lot of room for huge antennas or stuff like that. Whatever you got, if you got a tuner in the radio, that's pretty much all you need. And this, you know, a way to get audio in and out and control the radio. And you can do it with Vox. So you can do it real dirty if you want. And 100 watts, you're usually not going to have to worry about getting too much RF into stuff. So there you go. There's that. And it's pretty easy. So jump in. Don't be scared. If you get in there and screw up, you know, it's all right. Here's the, where did it go? Right here. The network time synchronization I use. Oh, that's going to bark at us. You can set this up. You can update it every hours. You can change it to minutes, seconds. About every hour, it should be pretty good. That's the only other thing. You want to set this stuff up to see your time is very time critical. So you can see here the seconds. And if you're off, if you hear somebody like start transmitting in the middle of everybody else, that means their clock's off. So that's the only other thing. And we'll put a link on the what I use. The Windows time sync that's included with Windows does not do a good job of keeping it on time. It doesn't check it as often as you need. So you're going to need another application to do that. That's really about the only the critical things are the timing and your signal to noise. And just watch that ALC. You don't want any ALC deflection, you know, if you can help it. And then you can adjust that slider right here to get the power output. So those are the critical parts. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you got any questions, shoot us an email, send us a message here.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave us a comment below if you did, whatever you did like, what you didn't like. Subscribe to it. You can hit that little bell icon to get notified when we post any new videos. And we'll be looking forward to making some more soon. The next one I think is going to be another program which I mentioned called JT Alert. It really streamlines using WSJT-X and your current logbook software. So you don't have to go import ADI files and all that. It also gives you some other really neat features, some stuff that's really helpful if you're looking for new stuff on different bands and whatnot. So we're going to get into that on the next episode. So until then, Thanks. Stay radioactive.